Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good. You ready for another full day?
I sure am.
Awesome. Mr. Knight, I see you're here. Where's Mr. Pizzazz?
I was just on the telephone with him, Judge. Am I coming through clearly?
Hold on.
Yep.
Good morning.
Come here.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. I'm Judge
Yes.
Nicola. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Judge.
We're just waiting for Mr. Pizzazz to come over the phone or over the Zoom. Tommy, I got two exhibit notebooks. Do you have any exhibit notebooks on this one or no?
I have one.
Which one do you have?
The husband's.
Okay. All right, so I have the wife's, so when I'm
Okay.
done with it, I'll get it to you. And I'm still not done with the one from yesterday. There's
Okay.
two of them from yesterday. I should have that judgment done this afternoon, I hope. I'm
Okay.
working on it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you get a hold of him, Mr. Knight?
Did he was? I told him like you're on. He made
wait,
me,
there
and
he
I
is.
rejected it.
I see him. I obviously enabled the waiting room function, and I actually am not sure how to now undo it. Good morning, Mr. Pizzazz. Now you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you addressed me.
I did. How are
Okay, I
you?
apologize. Very
Wait,
good,
is
Judge.
your-
How are you?
Good. Is your client with you too?
No, but he is about to log on. I just told him to log on.
There he is. I think I admitted him. Let me just look. Yes. Mr. Laird, good morning. Can you hear me? This is Judge Nicola.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, wonderful. So I understand that the parties have had some discussions about some possible resolutions of this case this morning. Are we in a posture to resolve it, or is everybody wanting to move forward with the trial this morning?
I'm afraid we're not able to resolve it, Judge. We're gonna have to go forward.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, as I said, I scheduled this day for you all, but I always encourage people to see if they can't come to some resolutions, because to tell you the truth, the best people to resolve your case are you than me. But this is what my job is. I'm happy to hear everything from both of you and give you a decision on the merits. All right, so Mr. Knight, I understand you represent Miss Laird,
Yes.
who is the petitioner. And Mr. Pizzazz, you represent Mr. Laird, who is the respondent. Mr. Pizzazz, before you came on, I asked the clerk, Tommy, if he had the trial notebooks for everybody, and he said he only has your client's trial notebook. So what I will do is when the trial is over and after I've made my ruling is I'll actually use my notebook that I have here, the green notebook, and I will give it to the clerk. And the notebook that you've given me, Mr. Pizzazz, this is just my copy, right?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. And usually what I end up doing once they're done and I don't need them anymore is I just simply shred them unless you want the notebook back.
No, that's okay, Judge.
Okay. All right. Mr. Knight, at this point, would you like to provide the court with an opening statement?
I think there's a preliminary matter that Mr. Pizzazz and I, it just depends on what we're both going to do. We had spoken earlier. There's no question as to the vast majority of facts in the case, and that we would stipulate to each other's exhibits.
Okay, that's wonderful. Having you guys to stipulate to the exhibits makes things so easy. So for the record, in the petitioner's notebook, the court will admit exhibits number 1 through 38 for identification. And Tommy, there isn't actually a face sheet in the notebook, so it'll have a list of all of the exhibits. And then in the respondent's notebook, the husband's trial exhibits, the court will admit exhibits number 1 through 45. that makes things so much easier than trying to figure out how to object to trial exhibits over Zoom. We did that all day yesterday after they'd already been screen shared. And just like everything else, it's, you know, when the exhibit isn't admitted, the court's already seen it.
Yes.
And then I have to be forced to say, I'm even though I've seen it, I'm not going to consider it, you know, which I do, I'm responsible for doing, but it's a little bit weird. So, all right. Any other preliminary matters, Mr. Knight or Mr. Bazaz?
That's all for me.
And I don't have any.
Okay. So, Mr. Knight, why don't you tell me what you guys have all agreed to, so that I understand that, and then tell me what you haven't agreed to, which will really lead me to understand what main issue or issues I'm going to be deciding today.
Okay, Judge. I want to introduce you to my client. This is Ms. Laird.
Good morning.
And these folks have a lot of problems and a lot of debts. There's a few credit cards that are outstanding. The parties are judgment proof because of their extremely limited resources and their extremely limited incomes. Both of them are living off of SSDI respectively. My client's living off of $800 a month. Mr. Laird is living off of $2,000 a month. My client's receiving some types of aid currently that we'll discuss. And I don't know exactly what other additional types of help or deductions are taken from Mr. Laird's SSDI. The parties have as mutual property a mobile home here in Naples, Florida, which is in a severely dilapidated condition. My client's expended sort of limited funds to keep it livable since it's been damaged in Hurricane Irma. Got that. My client is on the verge of homelessness. $800 a month doesn't cover the ongoing rent. Only by the grace of the government's actions in coronavirus has she been able to be current on her rent through the CARES Act and through other beneficent programs through Collier County. These are not going to last forever. My client is 64 years old. She is receiving her sole source of income is her disability payment of $800 a month. What we're not in agreement with is both the division of assets and debts, although we would propose a 50-50 split of either, because there is no possibility that either of them would suffer from a judgment. So in spirit of equity and equal distribution, the debts would just be equally responsible for, but nothing's really going to happen to them in practical matter. As far as alimony, my client would like to equalize the incomes up to a point where we would identify as being 67, where my client presumably would be eligible for regular Social Security, and then her income would automatically be equal to or greater than Mr. Laird's, and then alimony would be open to be modified. There's one other issue that might cause for a modification. My client has applied to a program where, because the mobile home is located in a floodplain, because the mobile home is considered dilapidated due to Hurricane Irma, that she would be eligible for a new house provided by this program in a different location. If in fact that does become the case, what we would ask for is that any maintenance alimony you would award would be automatically modifiable, but that the award of that home would not be marital, because that home is not in consideration for her current home. It's merely that she would have to turn over her home because no one can live in it and has to be properly destroyed. Otherwise, we could all apply for this in order to get the new home. So that's the case in a nutshell. But the final thing I just brought up is right now very speculative. We don't know exactly what sort of support Ms. Laird will have, but it's very likely that some kind of support will happen in the coming 3 years. We just need breathing room. She cannot live off of $800 an hour. Mr. Laird may well say that he's not able to live off of $2,000 a month. Well, they both can't live off of what they're respectively making. All the more reason to say equal is equal and to equalize incomes. A $500 a month payment wouldn't solve all of my client's problems. A $500 a month payment wouldn't make Mr. Laird homeless. The lack of a $500 payment, however, to my client would effectively make my client homeless. We're asking for 3 years. My client turns 64 in 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks and 3 years. In addition,
What's her date of birth, please?
February 17th, 1957.
And what is Mr. Laird's date of birth, please?
August 4th, 1962.
Thank you. Thank you both. Okay.
in addition, Judge, there's a bevy of expenses that have happened that my client has covered since Mr. Laird abandoned the home. I've advised my client to be focused on the future and to not focus on these thousands of dollars of expenses that have happened since the separation, because I don't believe that repayment of those, and my client doesn't believe, would make her whole. We are strictly in a holding pattern, trying to keep my client with a roof over her head and food in her stomach for the next 3 years. That's our goal, and we put yourself at your mercy.
And there hasn't been any temporary support paid since the divorce was filed, is that correct?
No.
And the money that she's been receiving has been government assistance or assistance from others?
Yes, government assistance from the county, assistance from the federal government,
Church.
church as well.
And my own money.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. All right, Mr. Pizzazz.
Thank you, Judge. So basically what you're going to hear today from my client is that he really has been paying. There's been a number of bills that he was paying after he left in December of 2019. In December of 2019, when he left, when the parties were separated, he's also going to testify that their home did have a value and they did have it on the market, or at least he thought that it was going to be sold. And there was equity in the mobile home at that time. After he left, he did continue to either send money or put money in the joint checking account and pay bills. And that happened really until like mid 2020, when he basically lost all contact with her. He couldn't communicate with her because she wouldn't communicate with him. So at that point, that's when he stopped paying for things. There have been some other sources of income for Mrs. Laird. So she has been able to pay some of the bills. But yes, from what my client's going to testify, he doesn't have any money to give. The $1883 that he receives is just what he needs. He basically has, $3 at the end of the day, and that's pinching pennies. He has his own medical issues. He has his own medical bills. He has his own prescription bills, and he has his own loans that he's taken out in order to pay these things. So even though he makes, more than her, he still doesn't have any ability to give anything, and that's what he's going to testify to. He'll give you a rundown as to what he pays. So, Judge, at this point right now, he's still asking for the sale of the mobile home. The parties can split the equity, and then each party will take their debts and their loans, their credit card bills after that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the real issues before the court today is whether there's going to be alimony, for how long and how much, and the issue of the mobile home, and obviously the distribution of any debts that are remaining. Am I correct to understand that any personal property, such as furniture, furnishings, things like that, has been previously distributed?
Yes.
No, I can answer that. There are still some personal items that Mr. Laird will testify to that he still is seeking from the mobile home.
And the parties aren't able to resolve that? Property issues?
I haven't been told about these items. If they're of de minimis value, I can't imagine my client would have a problem turning them over.
I would like to know.
All right, what we can do is we can, when the time comes, we can have Mr. Laird testify as to the items he wants, and I can look over at your client and say, do you agree to these? And what she, she'll say, I either agree or I don't agree. I mean, we could do it that way, and that way we can figure out whether she may say it's fine that you have them all, and then we just got to figure out when he can get them. Those are usually the easier of the issues between people, so that's why I asked you guys that. All right, I'm going to have both parties at this time raise your right hand and be sworn. Ms. Laird, Mr. Laird, do you both swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, Mr. Knight, you represent the petitioner, so you may inquire.
All right, Dean, we're going to have to talk in a big, loud voice, because sometimes
Okay.
we don't know what she can hear on Zoom.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay,
I'll let you know, trust me, if I can't.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am, can you state your full name, please?
Jean Elizabeth Laird,
Okay, and how old are you today?
63.
And who are you married to?
Joseph Laird,
And when did you get married to him?
April 21st, 2001.
Okay, and how, did you have any children with
No.
Mr. Laird?
No children.
All right. In the course of your marriage, what did you both do for a living?
Actually, we worked together for many years. He was my supervisor. We worked side by side for multiple companies in the maintenance area. And he continued in that. And then I went back to school and became behavioral health care counselor and went into working in the field of addictions for 20 years
Okay.
until I became disabled.
Okay. And when did you become disabled?
In 2014.
Okay. And what is the nature of your disability?
I was a recipient of one of the defective transvaginal mesh products, and it was made not to be removed, and it had to be removed because it was just destroying my internal organs. So that is the reason I was led to be considered 100% disabled.
Okay. And what was your disability award?
It was an approximately of $700 a month, $745, I think, at that
Okay.
time.
And today, are you receiving disability?
Yes,
And what is the disability you're receiving? Social Security disability insurance?
yes.
Okay. What is the amount you're receiving today?
What it was $800 a month. I applied to a program through Social Security for extra help. And this was recommended to me by the county through applying to Social Security for extra help, where then Medicaid, Florida Medicaid comes in and pays my Medicare premium of $144. And then so Medicaid takes care of that and puts that $144 back into my check. So I now am at $944 a month.
But you still have to pay Medicaid out of that $944, correct?
No, Medicaid,
Yes.
Florida Medicaid is covering that $144 for me because my income was so low.
Okay, so the check that the money you receive in your bank account each month is a total of what number?
$940.
Okay, thank you, John.
Wait a minute. She's confusing me. She gets $944
Yes.
a month, but that Medicaid payment still comes out of your checking account, right?
No, I don't pay the $944 anymore. The extra help with Social Security is because I was living 135% below poverty level. The Social Security, so in the state of Florida, agreed, and I qualified for Medicaid to pay that $144 a month for my insurance instead of me.
Okay, but does the
So-
$144 go into your checking account and then Medicaid withdraws the $144 so that you're at zero?
No, the $144 Medicaid is giving me, that's staying in my check. Medicaid is paying it for me.
Got it.
So when my check gets come in, it's $944 a month. But I don't know how long that's going to be in play for.
All right. In addition to the $944 a month you receive from Social Security disability insurance and the Medicaid, do you have any other sources of income?
No.
Okay. Over the past, let's leave it to just the past 6 months, what, if any, help have you gotten from either government or social services?
I got tremendous help through the CARES Act, with paying rent. Last time I paid rent was in May. I was no longer able to do it. My income my rent is more than my income. So I applied for the CARES Act and they paid the rent from June until December 1st. And then the CARES Act stopped. Collier County Coronavirus Fund is now going to pay my December rent because now the rent is $1,032 a month.
Okay. And who's going to pay your January rent?
January rent is going to be paid by Love in the Name of Christ, Love Inc.
Okay. What is that?
Love Inc. is almost like a clearinghouse. They come into counties and they get connected with different churches, and each church will say what needs they can provide for the poor in the area. And so I went to them, expressed what my situation was, and they agreed to help me to do this so I don't become homeless.
Okay. Who's going to pay your February rent?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you have any ongoing offers to supplement your rent or any other income?
No.
Okay. Because your rent's getting paid, how do you typically spend the $944 over the last 6 months?
Well, contributing to, car insurance, because everything that we established in 22 years, he left on me. So anything related to the home, repairs, repairs to the vehicle, repairs to the motorcycle that had to be done. The last 3 months of my checks being $800 a month went to replacing and repairing and replacing a hot water heater. Then the water lines busted underneath the house. That check went for repairing that. It was literally raining in my living room, and the whole side of the wall had to be replaced. So my last 3 checks have paid for the major repairs in my home.
Okay, let's talk about the home. When did you purchase your home?
April 1st, 2011,
Okay. And do you recall what you paid for your home?
$26,000.
Okay, where did you get the $26,000?
My father left it to me in inheritance in March of 2011.
Okay. And can you please describe your home for me? What kind of house is it?
It's a pre-manufactured home, approximately 1,300 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 2 bath. And it's all rotted.
Okay. You own your home. Do you own the land underneath your home?
No,
Okay.
I have to rent the land.
All right. And the rent is, could you remind me what the rent is?
$1,032,
Okay.
or something like that. It just
Now-
went up.
You said that the home is dilapidated. Can you please describe how it's dilapidated and how it became that way?
Okay, well, during Hurricane Irma, we had an eye on the back of our home, and 3 huge palm trees landed on top of the house. The house connects in the middle. The one tallest tree hit the center of the house and caused the house to shift. Since then, it's continued to shift, but the east side of the house is completely rotted. The beams under the floor, I think they call them the joist, that is all rotted. The ceilings in the living room and the master bedroom are bowing because they're separating from the sheetrock because the roof has been leaking, even though we did have new tiles put on after Irma, but it was a year later. So they were exposed. The laminate floors are starting to buckle because the floor is shifting underneath the house because it's all deteriorated. It's full of black mold under the house. Also inside the hot water heater cabinet, that's all black mold. That has since been, those walls have since been taken out and new ones put in, because that is right by my bedroom. And one of the reasons my doctor feels I've been very sick is because of the condition of the home and so much mold in it.
Have you had anyone come to either, is your house in a sellable condition?
No.
How do you know that?
I had a Florida licensed contractor come look at the house. We went through pictures, I sent him pictures, and then he came and looked at the house, did an inspection, and he said, I did
You
give
can't tell the court what he said. That would be hearsay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I did hand the letter in to my lawyer.
Yeah, it's in the exhibits, Judge. So I think it's
What exhibit is it?
I gotta check.
Because if it's already been admitted, then I can't consider it. I'm not seeing it, I don't think.
Just a second. Here we are.
That's it.
Yep. It is number 36, housing estimate,
Thank you.
innovative design solutions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Have you tried to sell the house?
Initially, when before Joe left, he called a realtor and had her come over, and she did a walk around without really looking at anything, and said the house was worth $89,000. And then he did somewhat repairing, painting, which ended up being, now I have different color paints on the walls because none of them matched. And then we started noticing the sinking of the floors in the second bedroom. You step on the floor adjacent to the wall, and the floor drops a good 2 inches because everything is caving in underneath the home. So I was by myself, and there was no way that I could prepare that home to put it on the market. I didn't have the money financially, and I couldn't do it myself physically.
So the house was the house ever put on the market?
No, it was, but it was never shown.
Mm-hmm.
When Joe walked out, I contacted the realtor, and I spoke to her about the issues in the house that were never looked at. And she said, you're going to have to talk to the...
Can't tell me what she said.
Okay. Well, but you can say what happened.
Yeah, you can say what happened. You just can't tell me what anybody told you.
Because it wasn't sellable. It wasn't worth $89,000. And then when we found more damage.
Objection. She only knows this from hearsay.
You know, we're asking what she knows.
I live in the house.
I'll allow her to testify as to what she thinks the house is or is not worth.
Continue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not a sellable home. That's one of the reasons I requested someone that was a licensed contractor to come look at the house from top to bottom, from underneath the house to the roof of the house. And that's the letter that you have.
Okay, in addition to that, what other assets did you have at the time that Joe left the house?
Well, the Ford Explorer, and a 2000 Harley Davidson.
Okay, where's the Ford Explorer right now?
Ford Explorer is in my driveway. It's falling apart.
What year is it?
It's a 2012. The rack and pinion's gone in the front end. There's several problems with that. The motorcycle I had for sale started at $9,000. I got $3,000 for it. It was on sale on the market for 6 months. Nobody would touch it. And I had serious medical issues and I needed to get treatments. And
when did you sell the motorcycle?
The motorcycle was sold 3 weeks ago.
Okay. And what happened to that $3,000?
That $3,000 paid for 10 days of IV antibiotic infusions for me.
Okay.
And it helped me pay utilities that the Collier County does not cover.
What utilities are those?
The internet, DirecTV, my car insurance, my health insurance.
Who was paying for the internet and DirecTV before Joe left?
We both were.
Who typically would make the payment on?
Well, I always did it.
Yes.
Until I got sick and I was bedridden with cancer for 9 months.
When was this?
That was in 2018.
Yes.
And during those 9 months, he did everything.
Okay.
He did the billing. He did everything. He actually had the DirecTV and AT&T taken out of my name and put in his name, and I didn't know that and left the balance unpaid. So
at the time that he left, the time of the filing of this case, whose names were DirecTV and the internet?
When he left,
Yes.
they were in his name.
Okay. And did he make any payments towards those?
He did.
Okay.
He did. A couple times he made the payments. And then what was happening is I was constantly being given different ideas from him. A simplified divorce. If I agreed to this, then I would get that. If I agreed to this agreement, then he would give me that. And then none of them were feasible or enough for me to survive on. And it still left me holding the weight of everything that we built together in 22 years. What he never paid an electric bill or a water bill. He never paid the car insurance. He paid the bills that were in his name.
Okay. Beyond the house and the Ford Explorer, do you have any other assets?
No,
Do you have any retirement accounts?
no. I've lost everything. I had a $100,000 life insurance policy I've had for 15 years. I lost that because I was unable to make the payments because I had to either eat, go to the doctor, pay my bills. I had good credit, 2 credit cards that were good credit, wasn't able to pay that. I've lost everything.
Let's talk about your debts right now. What debts do you have right now?
$6,000 and change to Chase Bank.
Yes.
I think approximately $1,800 or $1,900 to Capital One, and $900 to Suncoast, which I am paying on because that stayed in good standing. The other ones have all been charged off. There was a Wells Fargo account for our air conditioner. They were offering a settlement. I no longer get any information from them. I have tried, but they do not respond to me. The other debt is Joe had a heart attack in July 2017, or August of 2017, I'm sorry, right before Hurricane Irma. And I'm sorry, I just lost my track of thought.
Do you owe any personal loans to anyone?
Thank you. A friend of ours who is a teacher in Kuwait came over and stayed in our house for a couple of weeks, and she saw that we were living extremely poorly. The only income we had was my disability because he had lost his job due to his heart attack. And but he had also lost his other job a year before that. He was fired and he started working as a carpenter. 2018 or 2017, he had a heart attack. 4 days later, hurricane came, and a woman from our church offered to loan us $10,000. And this was before the hurricane, and asked when did we think we could have the house on the market. And we had been preparing to sell the house, both of us, and relocate together. And she said, do you think you can have the house on the market by January? And we said yes. And then
Hold on. When there's an objection, the court has to rule on it. What's the objection?
Hearsay. She's talking about what other person said.
What was the question, Mr. Knight?
it's written.
I had asked her if she had any personal loans. Do you have any?
Okay, I don't think that anything that the friend told her about whether the house did or didn't need repairs is really going to the truth of the matter asserted, which is whether or not there's a loan. So I'm going to allow it, but I think
So is there a loan?
I don't know
Yes,
how much
there's a-
more,
there's a-
how it's really relevant, other than the fact that it's the wife's assertion that she owes this friend money. And I don't know the name of the friend yet.
So her name is Susan Daniels, and the promissory note is in my files that Joe and I both decide that we both witnessed and signed agreeing to pay her.
Let's go through some of these debts. Are you in contact with Susan Daniels?
Yes,
Okay. Did she ask you about the loan?
yes,
Okay. What are you asking this court to order regarding that loan?
that we split that loan and he pay half and I pay half.
Okay. On any particular schedule? Or just that you be responsible for it?
No, there has no particular schedule been set between, I've talked to her because she knows what I'm going through. She said, please just get through the divorce and we'll work it out from there.
Okay. So there's no terms on the
No,
loan.
no.
Regarding the Chase account, which is the next largest, approximately 6,000, you mentioned that it had been charged off. What, if
Yeah.
any, offer have you gotten from Chase Bank regarding that?
I got a letter this week offering to settle in the amount, excuse me, of $1,200, 2 payments, $600 in one payment, and then $500 in another payment.
Your other accounts, there's 2 other $900 accounts. The Suncoast is in good standing.
So yes,
Okay.
I pay that every
You're
month.
using that in case of an emergency,
Yes.
correct? And then the other account that you have, have you received any sort of offers from that?
No, Capital One,
Mhm.
I will get an email every once in a while, but they know the situation. I've explained to them why I have not been able to pay, but they have said it's also charged off. So in all honesty, it's up to you to do what you want to do
Okay.
with it.
What are you asking this court to do with those debts?
Well, those 3 debts, that $10,000 note that we both signed, and the Capital One and the Marriott Chase card, that was both of us. So that should be divided by both of us to be paid, because there were many vacations, there were many things, parts for motorcycle that he rode, all these things were all paid on those credit cards.
Okay. In addition to those debts that you had, since the divorce was filed, what, if any, expenses have you incurred in regards to your marital property? Like repairs to the house? You mentioned a lot that you tried to repair the house. What, if anything, have you done regarding the house since then?
Well, the water lines broke underneath the house. I had to have all new water lines put in underneath.
What did that cost?
I did submit that. I don't know it off the top of my head. About under $700, I would say,
Okay.
because it took most of my check that month. Then the hot water heater went, and I got a new hot water heater, but it was bigger than the other one. And because everything is so rotted under the house, hot water heater fell through the floor of the hot water heater cabinet. So that had to be repaired. That was approximately $400. And that, in addition to the cost of the water heater, which was another $400. Then there was the repair on the side of the house where it was literally raining in the living room. I did submit a video of that, and the whole east side of the house that was hit hardest from Hurricane Irma is all black mold all under the awning and the aluminum siding. I'm sorry.
What did that repair cost?
That repair was at over $900.
Okay. What are you asking this court for in regards to those repairs that you've made to the marital property since the separation?
Well, I'm asking the court to consider that all this has been left on my lap. It's fine if he wants to go, but don't take what we built in 22 years and leave it all on me.
Okay. Are you asking the court to order him to reimburse you for a portion of those repairs?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I would have never chosen to do that, live in a home like that by myself.
Regarding
been able to.
the marital home, because of the nature of how it became dilapidated, Hurricane Irma, and its ongoing issues, what, if anything, have you learned about programs you'd be eligible for additional housing?
I have learned about a program called Rebuilding Florida, and they are home there. It's a Florida state program. If anyone has ongoing damage from the hurricane to their home, they send inspectors out and they look at the house. And before they sent the inspectors out, they did determine, since Hurricane Irma, they have rezoned, FEMA has rezoned the flooding zones, and that home is in the middle of a flood zone. So I could get repairs from FEMA for that, but they won't do it because it's in a flood zone. So because of that, I might qualify for a replacement home, but that's not a positive thing right now.
Okay. If you did qualify for a replacement home and you were awarded some replacement home, and this is all very speculative, what would you be asking the court to do regarding that replacement home?
That house would be mine because I was the one that purchased the first house.
Well, are you really trading in the house? We don't know the terms yet, but are you really trading in the house at all, to the best of your knowledge?
There's nothing to trade.
Yeah. There's
nothing to trade.
So would you be asking the court to deem any house that is gotten through this Florida program by you as non-marital property to yourself?
Absolutely.
Okay. What if any attorney's fees have you paid in this matter?
$3,000.
Okay, did you pay those $3,000? Was that $3,000 from yourself?
No.
Okay. Where did you get the $3,000?
My church.
Okay. Do you know what you owe me as to this date?
No, I do not.
Okay. Would you be surprised if you owed me $10,000?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay. What are you asking the court to do regarding attorney's fees? Are you asking the court that your husband should be responsible for a portion of your attorney's fees?
If it's possible.
I'm sure it'll work out, Gene.
Thank
Don't
you.
worry.
Because I've worked all my life. I worked as an addictions counselor for 20 years. I worked with the homeless. I had a wonderful career and I built a life for myself. And when I purchased my home through my inheritance from my father, I believed in the sanctity of my marriage, and it was used to make a better life for both of us. And then when he walked away, I was not able to financially maintain all that we established. So I have lost everything that I've ever worked for. I don't have no longer have long-term care insurance. I don't have life insurance. I'm a cancer survivor. I've got a new issue with cancer in my throat. I don't have any credit. My credit is in the toilet because I was getting no financial support at all. I could not maintain what we once maintained with 2 full-time jobs on $800 a month.
What, if anything, do you know about what Joe earns or receives in regards to income?
I don't know. I know that his other half has a very significant job. He told me all about that. Owns their own business. He has a new car. He has a whole new life.
Was he receiving Social Security disability income while you were together?
Yes.
Do you recall what that amount was?
It was around $2,000 a month because you don't get the 144 from Medicare. You don't get that right away. So he was getting approximately $2,000 or $2,100 a month.
If the court were to, now we've talked about your income before, what are you asking the court to do regarding alimony?
I think that we established this lifestyle, the two of us together, working side by side, literally for years, on the same companies, that it be considered that since we're both on disability and we built this life together, that we should have equal amounts of money to live on.
Okay. Do you know what approximately would equalize your incomes?
If to come from him, about $500 a month.
Okay. Would $500 a month make a significant impact in your life?
My dear God, yes, it would.
Okay. Would $400 a month make a significant impact in your life?
Yes.
Would $300 make a significant impact in your life?
No.
What would you do with $500 a month that you can't do today?
I would be able to get life insurance again. I would be able to repair my car. I would be able to have somewhat decent life where I can live and not live in the poverty that I'm living in. The community that I'm living in is constantly hounding me about the condition of my home. I can't repair it. It's just me.
What happens eventually if the home remains in disrepair pursuant to your community rules?
The home will be taken down.
Okay.
It's to be condemned.
Do you know when that would happen?
Not at this moment. Not at this moment. They want the rest of their rent. They want February's rent before that is decided.
Okay.
Because they know if they take it down, then I have nowhere to go. I have no family to go to, and I don't. $800 is not enough for me to have a place to live and survive. I didn't ask for this.
When do you become eligible for Social Security?
I don't know if it's 65 or 67. At some point, I think it's at 65. My disability turns over to Social Security.
Do you know what the amount of Social Security you'd be entitled to receive?
I think it's the same amount I get in disability.
Okay. Do you know if there's, outside of the programs that we've already discussed, is there any other source of income that you'd be entitled to or would expect in the future, either near or far?
No, there's no place left anymore. My family is all gone. I don't have any other resources. People have been carrying me since last June, and
is it fair to say that you've investigated every possible source?
I have worked to try to find everything available through every agency in this county, local government and federal government.
Okay, that's kind of what you used to do, right?
Yes, this is what I used to do for my clients and residents of the St. Matthew's Homeless Shelter. This is what I would do. I would help them find resources. And so I'm familiar in how to do that. And who those agencies are, never did I think I'd be seeking their services for myself, but that's where I've been left to have to do.
All right, very good. Nothing further from this witness.
Thank you. Mr. Pizzazz?
Yes, thank you, Judge. Ma'am, when your husband left back in December of 2019, did the two of you have a joint bank account?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And isn't it true that when he did leave in December of 2019, that there was an amount of approximately $1,500 in that joint bank account?
I don't remember what was in that bank account at that time.
Okay.
I honestly don't. Probably because his disability check and my disability checks had just come in, or one or the other had come in, and then that's when he agreed before he left that we would keep that joint account together, and he signed a promissory note doing that, agreeing to keep his disability check only in there. Any other monies of that check he would take on his own, but he would leave the $9.98 a month in there for the landlord fee until the house was sold. That's what the agreement said. He says.
So, were you in agreement to sell the home too?
Yes, we've been wanting to sell that home since my grandson died in 2014. We have wanted to sell that home. The day that he left, I asked him, what were you going to do when we've been talking about selling the house for all these years, but he got sick, I got sick. And what were you going to do the day we left? And we had plans to move to the East Coast, buy a trailer for a motorcycle and travel. And I said, what were you going to do? Just tell me that day that you're leaving? He said, no, I was going to go with you. Why? Why are you going with me if you're in this other relationship?
So the idea was to sell the home at that time. So we're talking about, time frame wise, we're talking the beginning of 2020?
No. We had, are you asking me when we were going to consider selling the home?
Yes.
Okay. In 2017, we had been planning and working on selling the home, getting it together. We did a lot of work in it. In addition to the $26,000 I purchased it with, I purchased another $11,000 worth of materials to do internal renovation. And
Of the mobile home.
of the mobile home.
Okay.
Okay. And then that was in 2014. 3 years later, he had a heart attack. I became disabled in 2014. 2017, he became disabled. 4 or 5 days later, right after his heart attack, this woman from our church agreed to give us $10,000 and we would pay her back when the home was sold. The home was in,
That's Susan Daniels?
yes, the home was in sellable condition at that time.
Okay, let me just draw
But then
attention.
Hurricane Irma came 5 days later and changed all of it.
Okay, let me just draw your attention because this part's probably more relevant, is after your husband left the home. So at the end of 2019, when your husband left, in that time period, after that, did the two of you agree to put the mobile home on the market?
He wanted it on the market before he left. He called the realtor. I did not know he called the realtor. He told me the realtor is coming here this afternoon. We're going to put the house on the market.
My question is, did you agree to that?
When she got there, what else was I going to do? He was leaving.
Okay, so the answer is yes?
Yes.
Okay. And is that where the number of 88,000 came up? That's what she had said the house was worth?
He said the worst house is worth it. She thought the
Objection,
house was worth.
hearsay.
Sustained.
Well, did she give you an approximate value of the home? I believe she's already testified to a judge. But
I think she has too.
did she give you an approximate value of the home?
$89,000.
Okay.
She walked around the inside of the house.
Okay.
He did not do an inspection.
Now, when you were asked before what repairs were made to the house since your husband left, you mentioned the hot water heater, and you said that was about $800 because it was $400 for the hot water heater and then $400 because it like collapsed through the floor.
Well, that just happened 2 weeks ago. It collapsed through the floor
Okay, that just
because
happened.
that whole cabinet is water rotted.
Okay, that was my question, was when did that happen? Okay.
The hot water heater. Go ahead.
And what about what about the water line? You said you paid $700 for that. When was that?
The hot water lines were about 6 weeks before the hot water heater went. The first major condition from the house was on the east side of the house, where the rain was coming behind the aluminum siding instead of over the aluminum siding. So the entire interior walls, so that whole wall rotted out.
When was that?
And so that was in I would say this is January, maybe September, August or September.
And was that
It was
repaired?
yeah, my check paid to repair that.
Okay, and so do you know how much that was to fix that issue?
Off of the top of my head, I can't give you an exact amount. I did submit figures.
Okay, but the roof is not leaking anymore then?
No, the roof does still leak.
Okay, so it wasn't
The
fixed?
roof wasn't the problem. What the problem was is the roof hangs over the gutters, and the water was not going into the gutters. It was filling up the gutters and going backsplashing behind the aluminum siding of the house, causing the roof to swell, and the walls and the thrust beams that the house sits on is all water rotted. I've submitted all those pictures.
So has anyone fixed that issue of the waters not going into the gutters and backsplashing? or is that still happening?
In that area, it was fixed. I don't have the money to fix it anywhere else.
Okay, in that area it was fixed, but is there
In that
another area of the home where the water's not going into the gutters and backsplashing?
I'm sure there is because of the mold that's underneath the house. There's mold all through that house. You take down the siding and you can see the silver boarding that's underneath the siding is all molded and falling apart.
Have you gotten an estimate as to how much it would cost to deal with the mold issue?
No, I got an estimate on what it would cost to repair the house, and that's the letter that we just all looked at.
Okay, so let's go back to that letter because do you have that letter in front of you?
Yes.
It's exhibit number 36. I don't see a date on that letter. So can you tell me when this person from Innovative Design looked at the property? Approximately.
I would say that was maybe again September or October. That was after the repair of the first situation where it was raining into the living room. And when we opened up the siding to repair around the window and the walls, that's when they saw the thrusts underneath the house, these big wooden beams that were all water rotted. And
so the person looked at that with you?
yes, and they also
What was the person's name?
I'm sorry,
What was the person's name?
Jeff.
Jeff?
I
Okay,
think
so
it's
he
Jeff.
didn't tell you how much it would cost to make the repairs
He-
on the home.
He says in the letter, I don't have my glasses.
I know what it says in the letter, but did he tell you how much it would cost to repair the home?
He said that the money that you would have to put into this house to make it livably sound for someone to live there, you'd be better off building it a new house altogether because there's so much work that needs to be done on this house that it would probably cost you $80,000 to repair all the damage in this house from Hurricane Irma. Joe knows how hard our house was hit, and he knows that we tried to get the insurance adjuster to look at those damages.
Object for non-responsive. I just want to move on to the next question.
Okay, thank you, sustained.
And so after Hurricane Irma, did the insurance company cover fixing the roof on the house?
No,
What did
No.
they cover?
they covered the lanai, which we took the smallest bid. We didn't have it replaced to the original lanai we had
Anything
because,
other than the lanai?
excuse me,
Anything other than the lanai?
was anything other than the lanai repaired?
From the insurance from Hurricane Irma, I asked you what they covered, and you said the lanai. So I said anything else?
The lanai was repaired, and the skylights in the roof were repaired. But then a year and a half later, Salvation Army contacted us, knowing that we had not had the roof repaired. The insurance didn't cover that, and they put new shingles on, but they put it on over the old stuff. So what happened is, because it's continued to leak, the plywood has now expanded and swelled from the water. So
The last repair you made was the hot water heater. And then you said in September and October, you had another repair to the hot water heater. That's when you actually got the new hot water heater.
no,
And then
No, the wall part that I was talking about by the window, and when we opened up that east side of the house, that was the first major repair.
You
Then
said that was
after
about
that,
September?
excuse me?
You said that was
I can
about
hear you.
September? You said that was about September?
I'm guessing approximately September. Then we had, there was also the refrigerator went. I had to buy a refrigerator.
When was
The
that?
hot water lines. I don't have that with me.
Was it after September?
It was after the repair on the side of the house.
Okay. So was the repair on the side of the house the first major repair that you had to do in 2020?
Yeah, because it was raining in my living room.
Okay.
That's when we found all the damage under the siding.
The Love Inc. that you said is paying the January rent, do you know if they'll pay the February rent?
I do not.
Have you asked them?
And I have not. I have not. I have been in and out of the hospital for the past 10 days. So I have not had a chance to talk to them about February.
Now, you testified that you sold the Harley Davidson. Did you speak to Joe about that, your husband?
No,
Okay.
he won't speak to me.
Did you try to reach out to him and let him know that you were selling the Harley Davidson?
No,
Okay. Do you have any documentation on the sale of the Harley Davidson?
well, I no longer have the title. I can tell you the name of the person that bought it.
And is there any proof of how much you sold it for?
I gave him a receipt for $3,000. I gave him the receipt and I gave him the title. And 1,000 of that has paid for my IV infusions for the past 10 days.
Do you have medical insurance?
I do. But these are very expensive medications because of the extent of my illness.
So these are out-of-pocket expenses?
Yes.
And are you getting help for your medical expenses? Other than health insurance, is there someone else who's helping you pay medical payments?
No, the sale of the motorcycle helped me pay. I don't have any family to go to for help.
Okay, I have no other questions.
Any other questions for this witness, Mr. Knight?
Nothing based on that.
Okay. At this point, I think what we'll do is we'll take about a 10-minute recess. I understand, Mr. Pizzazz, that you're going to call your client next. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. I'm just going to walk out of the courtroom for a minute, so it'll still be on. I just tell people that because every once in a while when people see that I put up the mute and the stop video, they think I'm gone. But when I walk back in, I'll actually hear you. And I've had a few people who didn't realize that and said stuff they may not have wanted me to hear. So I'll be back at about 10:25. So you do have a few minutes, but I just want you to let you know I'm pretty prompt, so I probably will walk right back in at 10:25. So if you don't want me to hear what you're saying, mute your microphones.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right, everybody, we're back on the record in case number 20 DR 507. Mr. Bazaz, are you ready to proceed, sir?
Yes, Judge, thank you. I'd like to call Mr. Joseph Laird.
Okay, Mr. Laird, you previously have been sworn. You may proceed.
Mr. Laird, can you please state your name and date of birth for the record?
Joseph Laird, August 4th, 1962.
And were you married back on April 21st, 2001?
Correct. Yes.
And when were you separated, you and your wife?
I separated August.
Hold on,
December 21st.
hold on. We lost the clerk. There he is.
Now he's back.
Okay, we're good. When did you say you were separated, Mr. Laird?
December 21st, 2019.
And did you move out of the marital home?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and why is that?
Because I had a heart attack in 2017, and the stress of living there with her was getting to me, and I thought I was going to have another heart attack, and I felt taken granted of and abused and just neglected, and so I left. And I gave him 3 weeks. I fixed up the house the best that I could, and so I left.
Okay.
The finances I had to fix the house.
So tell me, what did you do to fix the house before you left?
There were broken pieces of glass. I fixed them on the windows that were old. I painted the rooms best I can to match the original paint. The ones that there was all kinds of holes in it and stuff, and the house was in good condition when I left. And I checked underneath the crawl space periodically. I was underneath there fixing stuff, and there was no black mold or anything like that.
Okay. And where did you end up moving to?
Indiana.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you had a heart attack. You said that was in 2017?
Correct.
All right. And is that when you started receiving disability?
Yes, shortly after that.
And how much disability do you receive right now?
1,883. Plus my Medicare or Medicaid, whatever they call it, comes out, which is 144. And my insurance costs $22 a month, which comes out of there also. I have them deduct that from my disability check, my health insurance.
Are those additions or subtractions? I can barely hear you, Mr. Laird.
Oh, I'm sorry.
1,883 plus 144 minus?
The minus on the 144 and the minus on the $22 for my United Healthcare insurance I have.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So what is deposited into your account every month? How much?
$1,883.
1,883 is after the 144 and the 22, sir?
Yes, everything's taken out, and that's what's deposited in my check.
Thank you.
I don't see it any other way. I just see it as they take it out, and that's what I make.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Now,
All right.
when you left to move to Indiana, did you have an agreement with your wife as to what the two of you were going to do with the bills?
Supposedly we signed something, leave my check in Suncoast, but that was why the house was why the house was for sale. But the house was never for sale, because they took it off immediately. The day I had it on the market, I just finally realized that a month ago or so. I talked to the realtor that they took it off that day or the next day, even before I left, and I didn't know anything about it. So they took it off very soon. So I wasn't going to leave my money in there watch it dwindle away like it has been. So
Mr. Laird, who is they?
Gene,
You said they took it off the market. Who's they?
Gene, I'm sorry. Gene took it off the market.
Okay, thank you. When you say they, I'm assuming there's someone else involved. So that's
No.
why every once in a while, folks, I'll jump in to ask a question just to clarify if you're meaning one person or the plural or something like that. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
So it was part of the agreement that the house would be put on the market. Is that
Correct.
what you're saying?
Yes.
And the value that your wife had testified to, was that the value that you remember that was put on the house?
Correct.
And while the house was on the market, you had made an agreement to help pay for the marital home's expenses?
Yes.
Okay. And so when you left to Indiana, did you leave money in the joint bank account for your wife?
Yes, it was 1,500 and something, 53 or 35.
And what did you take with you?
Oh, my clothes, a little bit of that, little clothes, and $50 I was given, and no vehicle whatsoever, and that's it.
So when you were living in the marital home, what car were you driving?
I rode the motorcycle.
And then she drove the Ford, the Explorer?
Correct.
Okay. When you went to Indiana, did you ever purchase a car?
No, I cannot afford a car.
So at the time, you don't have a car.
No, I don't have a car at all. I don't know where they have this illusion or delusion that I have a car. I don't know where that came from. I barely make ends meet.
Okay. Now, after you left, did you continue to help pay for some of the bills in 2020?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and how did you do that?
Through my SSD guy. I've sent checks Walmart to Walmart, and I've put it directly into Suncoast checks, and I've paid for Comcast and DirecTV, which were in my name. That's another story.
Well, let's talk about Comcast in the internet because that came up already in the testimony.
Oh,
You were paying for Comcast and DirecTV?
correct.
Okay, for how long did you pay for that?
I paid for it while I was there. I put it in my name because we'll just say we did not pay for it. It was in Gene's name, so I put it in my name, the DirecTV, so we could have it, DirecTV and Comcast. So both of them were in my name because we didn't pay the bill. I'm just saying we didn't pay the bill, so I had to use my name to pay for it. And so I paid for it and kept on paying for it. And I came here and I asked her to take over the payments, and I had no response. And so I found out there was a debit, deficit in the bank, in a negative, from a deposit of DirecTV. Of
Okay, how many months after you went to Indiana did you find that out?
It was April 28th.
Okay. So at the end of April, you found out that there was a negative in the bank account for a payment to Comcast, you said, or DirecTV?
Direct.
Okay, so
DirecTV.
did you try to fix that? Did you try to fix that?
Yes.
Okay, and how did you do that?
I made a payment because there was a deficit, so I put $50 to try and bring up the negative balance, but there was other payments coming out, so I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring the balance out of negative.
There is a claim that you were responsible for the DirecTV and the Comcast being turned off. Is that accurate?
Yes, I did that. That was,
How did that come about?
that was, the 20,
Judge, if Mr. Laird's referring to something, we should probably know what it is.
He said that he had the DirecTV and the Comcast turned off, and he's, I think he's looking for a date.
I know, but he's looking at something. If he's looking at a document to refresh his memory, I want to know what that document is.
Mr. Laird, are you looking at something that will tell you when you had the Comcast and the DirecTV shut off?
yes, these are my notes. When I have April 24th, I became aware of the situation. These are my notes. I have.
Okay.
See?
Normally we don't have people referring to notes. Like when we're sitting in a courtroom, if you had notes in front of you, you're supposed to be testifying from your own memory, unless you can't remember something, and then your lawyer is able to ask you if your notes would refresh your recollection. I know it's unusual because we're over Zoom. It makes it very difficult for us to tell if people are referring to notes or looking at other things, or even looking off to the side and asking their new wife to tell them what to say, which I've had happen actually. So,
Okay.
in this instance, honestly, Mr. Knight, I don't really think it matters. What really matters is the fact that it was turned off. And I kind of would like to know when it happened, what the circumstances were. And of course, you'll have an opportunity to ask him some questions about that, and also even ask your client if she kind of agrees that that was the date it was turned off and she took over.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. So what's that date, Mr. Laird, if you know?
April 28th.
2020?
Correct.
Thank you.
And how did that come about?
Well, there's a negative balance, and I can no longer afford to pay it. And I asked them to pay it, which I told to take over the Comcast and the DirecTV.
Now, when you say them,
Gene to take over the payments or whatever, but they didn't. Gene did not respond.
And
So
how did you reach out to her?
I emailed her at one period when I was allowed to before I got. We have no further communication because she had a lawyer, and she wanted no further communication with me. So this is all how it transpired, and I had no response. So I don't have DirecTV or AT&T or any. I don't have I cannot afford that luxury. That's what it is, a luxury. It's not a utility, it's a luxury. And I can't afford it, so I shut it off. I put it on vacation mode so I wouldn't keep getting charges. They would charge like $18 DirecTV or AT&T to hold it there, to put it on hold. Vacation mode it's called. And so Gene came into the account and turned it back on. And then I turned it off, and then they turned it off and took my account numbers and switched them all about. I couldn't get in there. I had to talk to this guy, and finally I got through, and so I had both of them shut off completely. And then I had one AT&T customer service lady crying for me, screaming to turn it back on because Gene was yelling at her. She said, these are not my words, the associate, the customer service lady told me this. So I had it shut off, and I paid for the early termination fee plus the return of the equipment, which I don't even know if it's ever been returned. If Gene returned it or not, I don't have that knowledge whatsoever.
At what point?
But I paid for it.
Okay. At what point were you unable to speak to Gene anymore?
When she got Mr. Knight as a lawyer, whenever that was, March.
Okay. Did you receive some correspondence that you weren't supposed to speak to her anymore?
Yes, I did. I mean, I can't remember all this stuff because it was in lengthy emails and stuff that no further communication.
Okay.
So,
At what point did you stop making the Walmart to Walmart payments to her?
oh, for the lot fee?
Yes.
Because that's what they were for. What point?
So
What were they for?
Yeah.
I didn't hear you, sir.
Pardon?
What were they for? You said what they were for and I didn't hear you.
The lot fee, the payment, I would send Walmart to Walmart. And then when she got Mr. Knight as her attorney, there was also that no communication. Plus, I didn't have the money, and I called up Landmark, the owner of the lot fee, where Gene lives at Landmark. I called them up, and they would not take partial payments, so I no longer paid them.
Do you
I
remember?
did, however, pay them in April, in May.
No, I think you were about to answer my question. Yeah, when was the last lot fee payment that you made?
July. No,
And then you said after
June,
that,
I'm sorry, that was June.
so June, you made the last payment for the lot fee. And then after that, you said you tried to make a partial payment, but they wouldn't accept it?
Correct, because they had the thing with the virus. So they let you make a partial payment, because I did that with the 500 and 200 in April and May. And then I tried later on to make another payment. The manager at Landmark said, no more partial payments at this time. I said, okay.
Do you know approximately how much you gave to your wife after you left in December for her to pay for the upkeep of the marital home? And if you need to refer to your notes to refresh your recollection.
No, I'm
Let us
fine.
know.
It was between $6,000 or $7,000.
Let's talk about your expenses right now. Who do you live with?
I live with a friend.
Okay.
And
And
I pay rent,
okay, how much rent do you pay?
$650.
All right. And how long have you been paying that now?
8 months.
Okay. Is it the same location that you've been living at since the end of December of 2019?
No.
So well, what's the name of the person that you're living with?
Janie,
Okay, so how long have you been living with Janie then?
a year.
A year?
A year.
So for the first 4 months, were you unable to pay rent? Was she doing you a favor by helping you out?
She was taking care of most of my bills. Well, matter of fact, all of them.
Okay. But then 8 months ago, then
I got back up. I got
You're on
back
your
up on my feet, sort of, and I started making payments and moving along.
Okay.
Trying to, for what I get paid.
Other than the rent, what other expenses do you have every month?
I pay partial on the gas, the electric. I pay for food. I pay for my medical.
We lost Tommy again. Hold on a
Wait, just,
second.
yeah, just hold on. We lost the clerk.
There he
Now
is.
he's
All right, you can continue, Mr. Laird.
I pay for my medical, my rent, of course, I said. My own personal bills I pay for.
What are those personal bills?
I have Discover card. I pay for Wells Fargo. I pay for my IU Health. I pay for Wakefield. These are all bills that I take care of. Debits. Wakefield. I pay for Wells Fargo. That's a marital bill that I've been paying on my own. IU, NCH I pay for. Those are medical bills. Gas I pay for. I pay for the loan to have a lawyer, and that went up. So that's like 18. I have like $3 or $4 at the end of the month after I pay for all that stuff. So it's all good.
Now, the Wells Fargo, What's that payment for?
That's for air conditioner we purchased together at the marital house.
And how much do you pay a month for that?
I just set up a payment plan. It's only three months for them, but it automatically come out $30. So January, February, March, I have 230 payments, 330 payments of that already set up in the middle of the month.
Okay. And you set that up yourself?
Yes.
Now, still inside the marital home, are there any items that are personal items to you that are non-marital items that you wish to retrieve from the home?
Yes, I have a book, a wooden chest I made, a little wooden jewelry box I made, a chalice, a wooden one, a handprint I made from 1967 of my hand. It's
Okay, I don't want to stop you, but maybe now this is appropriate time. If I don't know if the court wants to.
Let's have him finish the list, and then I'm going to have Mr. Knight mute his microphone and confer with his client about whether there's anything that she objects to. Number one, I've got a wooden chest. Number two, a wooden chalice. Number three is a print of his hand. And what else do we have?
You mentioned a book.
Oh, I thought, okay, I didn't get the book. A book? What's the book?
they're Marine Corps books.
Okay, Marine Corps books. All right, what else do we have?
Can I use my list right here?
Yes,
I can't see why not.
Yes, please
Okay,
use it.
okay. This will go much faster if I use
Works for me.
plaster hand, wooden chalice, handmade jewelry box, assorted family photos, Marine Corps yearbook, assorted books, Christmas ornaments made by Joseph's children.
Is that everything?
Do you have tools?
That's the non-marital thing. Those are my personal items, and then there's premarital items that I'd like to have. There's a toolbox, hammers, screwdrivers, wrenches, socket wrenches, and adjustables. And then there's marital items and gifts to Joseph that I would like to have, and
What are they?
They're a saber saw, axe, 4-foot level, electric sander, assorted.
Well, wait, can you just go slower because we're writing
Yeah,
this?
you need to go slower. I'm writing.
Oh, I'm
Saber
sorry.
saw, axe.
4-foot level,
Got it.
electric sander, assorted tile installation tools, a miter box, a carpet kicker, a handheld shop light, miscellaneous hand tools.
Miter box, carpet kicker. I'm trying.
I'm
I
sorry.
usually can write pretty fast, but you've lost me. What's after the carpet kicker?
Handheld shop light,
Okay.
miscellaneous hand tools, hedge clipper, pruning shears.
Okay.
I'm almost finished, and there's a circular saw, a hand saw, electric drill, outdoor extension cords, a Milwaukee corded drill, and then there's
Okay, wait, slow down.
Walking corded drill?
Milwaukee
Oh,
corded,
Milwaukee. I thought you said walking.
and then an entertainment center, and then a Samsung TV set, smart TV set, and all of my personal items. That would cover everything, I believe. Thank you.
All right, let's take a minute, Mr. Bazaz, for you to speak with her. Mr. Knight, to see what she will agree with. And then if there's things she doesn't agree with, then the court can decide. And I will take other testimony from her at the end of this case to ask her why she disagrees, if she does.
All right, Judge, we're ready.
Okay.
Okay, the tools in the items my client alleges were put out by the curb before Mr. Laird left. So those items aren't available anymore. But anything personal, the books, those handprints, the wood chalices, those are all available and
Why
would
would
be.
the tools be put out on the curb?
She's not the one that did it, so.
I can't do it.
I didn't do it.
Well, we're going to hear some testimony about why those tools were put out and by whom, because it sounds to me like those are the majority of the things that he wants.
Mhm.
So, all right, we will be, I want to hear from your client later, Mr. Knight, as to who put those tools out and why they'd be put out at the end of the driveway or wherever they were for the world to see/take. Are there any of the tools on his list that are there, like the circular saw, the handsaw, the electric drill, any of the, I mean, some of these things sound like they're pretty expensive to replace.
Oh, yeah, yes, Your Honor, a little bit.
Saber saw, not you, Mr. Laird. I want to hear from Mr. Knight about whether any of these tools are left. I mean, like, especially some of the bigger items like the Milwaukee corded drill and, you know, some of these items are fairly large items that would have to physically be carried to the end of the driveway. Do any of them exist?
Are you asking me, Your Honor?
I'm asking your lawyer.
Okay.
I don't know, Judge.
Okay, all right. Well, we're gonna delve into this further after we're done with Mr. Laird's testimony, because I'm gonna want to hear from your client what happened to the husband's belongings, the things that he wants anyway, the ones that aren't left. All right, so I interrupted you. What about the personal property, the mementos that he talked about that were non-marital? Do those still exist?
Those exist.
And he can have them?
Yes, absolutely.
And so,
All right.
you think?
Yeah, some have already been mailed apparently. So.
All right, we'll discuss that too, because he's asking for it, and it would be odd for him to ask for it if he already had it, but we can talk about that too. What about the entertainment center and the television?
There's two TVs in there. They're flat screen TVs. I don't know which ones he's talking about. I only have two.
Okay, well, if there's two, can he have one of them?
Yeah, he can have one of them. They came from his previous job.
Okay, what about the entertainment center? Do you know what he's talking about?
Yeah, I do. He told me that he was leaving that with me.
Okay. All right, we can talk about that as well. So it looks like everything on the non-marital property is agreed to. The premarital property, the tools and all the other stuff we're going to hear about later from the former wife, because she says that it doesn't exist. One of the TVs is fine. We may just need to shore up what that is. And the entertainment center, we're going to have to discuss further. Which, in all honesty, sir, if you live in Indiana, it sounds to me like it might be more expensive for you to move an entertainment center to Indiana than it would be to just go out and buy one secondhand or even new. But that may be something for you to discuss with Mr. Bazaz about whether it's worth it to fight over the entertainment center and then have to move it all the way to Indiana. Okay, Mr. Bazaz, you can continue.
Thank you.
you.
Mr. Laird, how many television sets were in the house when you left?
I had two in a closet off the entryway. It was like a mud room. There was two there that weren't being used, two or three. And then there was one, two, three, actually one in one bedroom, the master bedroom, one in the guest bedroom, and then one in the living room. So that would be three there, and then add two more. That would be 1, 2, 3, 5 TV sets in all.
Is there a specific one that you want?
No, yes, there was one in the master bedroom, which is a smart TV, which is a nice TV, the newest one.
What other furniture was in the home when you left?
There was a dining room table. There was a love seat, a couch. There was a bedroom set, furniture, bed, desk, end tables, $5,000 bed, king size bed, therapeutic. There was a bed in the second bedroom with a dresser, and two dressers in the master bedroom, and a big leather couch, and a big dining room table set that had 2 leaves and sat 8 or 10 people. That's about it?
Were all of these purchased during the marriage?
Yes. Yes.
And what do you think the approximate value is of the furniture that you just testified to?
Altogether, like maybe 10,000.
10 what? Okay.
10,000.
Now, before you left in December of 2019, were you experiencing any issues with the home as far as leaking, the roof leaking, any water going into the house, anything like that before you left?
No.
Now, what credit cards do you have personally after the two of you separated?
I just have a Discovery card.
And are there any still credit cards outstanding that are marital?
Gene would know that better than I would.
Do you know if there are still any credit cards that are outstanding that were marital?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That would be the Wells Fargo.
And are you asking for the court to divide those evenly between the parties?
Yes. Unless the credit cards are in her name.
Okay, so how many credit cards are in your name?
The one I only know of is the Discover card.
Okay, so all
And,
the
uh, and the Wells Fargo card.
Okay.
That's for the purchase of the air conditioner.
and all the other credit cards are in her name?
I don't know if my name's on them or not, but and I had an email that they said they would take care of the Marriott one that she said was like 6,000, that I should just forget about it. I got that in an email, just to forget about it, that Gene would take care of it. So to me, that means they would take care of it.
So when you separated, did you use any marital credit card after you separated, or just your own personal Discover?
One time I used the Suncoast debit card when I came here because I had extra heavy bags, so I had to pay $35. And then I went to a store and spent like $16 so I could have something to eat. So that was the only time that I used that debit card from Suncoast.
So other than that $50, you didn't use any marital credit card since you left?
No.
Okay. So are you asking the court then to order you to pay for your personal credit card that you've been using to Discover?
Yes.
And what about the other credit cards?
Jean would have to take care of that herself.
Because you haven't used them.
Pardon?
Because you haven't used them?
No, I haven't.
What about the sale of the motorcycle? You've heard testimony that the motorcycle was sold. How did you find out?
Saw it on Facebook.
Okay. And did your wife talk to you about the sale of your Harley Davidson?
No.
And on Facebook, did it say how much it was sold for?
No, I didn't see that part. I just saw that it was up for sale for 54 or 55, whatever. And that was the last time I saw it, and then it was gone the next day or a couple days later.
Do you know approximately how much that Harley Davidson was worth about the time that you left?
I believe it was 9,000.
And was it drivable? Was it working? Was it in good condition?
When I left, yeah.
Okay. So when you left, do you know if the house needed any major repairs?
The roof was done. That's a major repair, so that wasn't a consideration. And the other repairs, not to my knowledge.
Okay. And are you asking the court to order the sale of the home and that the parties would split the equity of the home, if any?
Correct. Yes.
Now, you've heard the testimony from your wife. You heard about all of the charity that she's received, but that she still needs more help. Are you able to give her any extra money every month?
If I wanted to live out on the street myself, sure, I can give her my whole paycheck. But in honesty, no, I have $3 or $4 left at the end of the month when my bills are taken care of.
If the court did order you to pay an extra $300 or $400 or $500, would you be able to pay your personal bills?
No. I would say, to be generous, 2 would be rough. 200. That would be rough.
Would you be willing to let her keep the proceeds of the sale of the motorcycle?
Yes, yes.
And what about the furniture in the home? Would you be willing to let her keep an unequitable portion of it, maybe more than 50% portion of its worth?
Yes, they can keep the furniture. I just would like some tools and my personal items. That's all. I'm not asking for much.
Okay, so the $10,000 of furniture, she can keep that?
Yes.
Okay. Is it your intention to continue to pay the Wells Fargo credit card from the payment of the air conditioner?
If I don't have to, no, it's not my intention to keep paying. I'm just paying it because nobody else is. I have to pay something. That's something I can afford right there is $30. I have no more money. I've given them what I can. And my friend has also helped out generously, very much, that the money tree is gone.
And just tell the court about your medical bills. Do you still have medical bills, hospital bills, medicine
Yes,
bills?
I have NCH. I have IU Health, Indiana Health. I have bills, and I have a new prescription I take, which costs more than my other prescription for my heart.
How much is that?
50.
Okay. And you said you pay NCH. What are you paying them?
NCH, I pay them 30.
Okay. And IU Health, what's IU Health? You said it's Indiana?
It's Indiana Health. It's a hospital.
And you pay them every month as well?
Yes, I pay them 30 also.
Okay.
And then I pay Wakefield, which is a debit from NCH, which I pay them a collection, Wakefield, 30 a month.
Were you also making car payments?
My insurance does. It picks up the tab for that vehicle there Gene is driving.
Okay.
$406. And it also paid for the bike that Gene owns or sold. That's theirs. My insurance company paid for that. They waived my payments because my disability. In Kuna Mutual, they pick up that.
So do you pay any of that?
No.
Okay. Are there any other bills related to your health and medical?
No.
Are you still paying car insurance?
Am I paying car insurance? No.
I didn't know if you were still paying the car insurance on the Explorer or the Harley Davidson.
No.
Okay. Okay, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Knight?
Okay. When's the last time you've been to the mobile home in Naples, Mr. Laird?
That would be 2019, December 21st.
Okay. You had earlier said that you had done some painting or some other kind of work. What other work had you done on the mobile home?
I've replaced windows that were broken, cracked, caulked around existing seams that were there, painted the shed, cleaned that out.
You said that there was I'm sorry, are you still going?
Yes, I'm still
Okay,
going.
sure.
Painted the back lanai, the floor, and sealed up cracks there in the floor.
Okay. Had you ever been underneath the mobile home?
Multiple times.
All right. What did you see, if anything, while you were underneath there?
I saw black tarp that runs from one end, length to width of a membrane that covers up the whole underneath carriage of the mobile home. That's what's underneath there.
Okay. When you were living there at the mobile home, who paid the rent on the land?
That was put into our joint fund, but for the majority, my paycheck took care of that.
Okay. You had said that after you've left, you spent approximately $6,000 to $7,000 in money that you'd sent to Jean to support her. Is that accurate?
Yes, my lawyer has a timeline of all my payments and debits and everything that I've done since I've been gone.
Okay, so you were gone in December.
Timeline to him.
Okay, so December 31st to 2019 to
Correct.
today, 2021. It's approximately a year. There's $6,000. Tell me, to the best of your recollection, what were those payments? You mentioned that there was like a partial payments for 1 month's worth of rent. Was that in March?
No, it was April and May.
Okay.
Lot rent January I paid. Lot rent January, February, March, and April.
Okay.
And May. I paid them.
Did you pay
Not
full
the
pay?
whole thing, I've made partial payments.
Okay. Did you, in January, February, and March, did you make full payments or partial payments?
I think they're partial payments.
Okay. Do you recall what what the total amount was?
Um, $999, $98.
So $998 in total was paid to Landmark for the rent.
For January,
Okay.
in February, and
Okay.
March.
All right.
So
And then what happened in April? How much did you pay in April?
that was a partial. That was 500.
Okay. So now we're up to 3,500.
That partial went to a deferral that somebody requested that Gene signed for without I didn't sign for a deferral. Whatever they had, they took the 500 and the Landmark took the 500 and 200 that I sent them, and they put it for June's lot fee. So I had that earmarked for those partial payments for those specific months, and Gene comes along and signs this piece of paper, deferral, and there goes the money, and they say, okay.
All right. Do you have a problem that she asked for a deferral?
Did I?
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't sign nothing
Okay.
unless somebody forged my name.
Yeah, but what's the problem with having a deferral on the rent?
I couldn't make partial payments. I could barely make full payments, but I was still doing it.
Okay. So you've described $3,500 of payments. What's the other $2,500 to $3,500 that you allegedly gave?
Cable, Comcast, DirecTV. I'd have to look at my notes to give you a specific amount number, a dollar amount.
Okay. How long were you paying Comcast and DirecTV for? Be quiet.
January, February, March, and part of April.
Okay. What were the total bills for Comcast and DirecTV on an annual basis, approximately? Not an annual, a monthly basis.
One was, I believe, 87, and then the other one was 175.
Was that 175 total or 87 plus 175?
Total.
Okay. 175 January, February, March, and April. That is approximately $700 total. Okay. So now we're at $4,200. You said you spent $6,000 to $7,000. Where's the other $1,800 to $2,800 that you allegedly gave her?
I just paid a lot fee. I mean, the insurance, there's $100 there. The insurance tags for the mobile home, I paid for that, which is $100.
Okay. Who did you pay that to?
Collier County taxes.
Okay. When you said that there,
Progressive Insurance, I paid them.
Progressive Insurance pays for what?
Auto insurance.
For what car?
I believe when the bike was still active, I paid for the bike 1 month.
Okay.
And I don't know then how much it was, $44 or whatever it was.
Okay.
And Wells Fargo, I've been paying on. That's $30 from, let's say, I'll be nice, say February, March, April, till whatever today is. So that's how long I've been paying that, $30 a month.
Okay. Let's talk about the furniture inside the house. You estimated that it's worth approximately $10,000. Why do you believe it's worth $10,000?
Well, the bed itself, I don't know what kind of bed you sleep in. This is a Tempur-Pedic. You can go price it anywhere. That bed alone costs $5,000. So an entertainment center would cost, I believe, a new one, $300 or $400. And then you go into the other room, there's another bed. Another bed itself would be a basic bed would be $300-400.
Yeah,
cheap
but-
old bed.
But none of these items
Buy a
are
dining
new.
room- Then you buy a dining room set with 2 leaves that stretch out 12 feet or whatever, with 8 chairs around it. That's another, if you want to buy a nice one, $1,200. So
Okay. Let's talk about the actual furniture that's actually in the house. If you had a garage sale, let me finish my question. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sir, let me finish my question before you answer me, please.
Okay.
If you had a garage sale tomorrow with all this furniture that you labeled, would you price it at $3,000, at $1,200, at $400?
Objection to relevance as to the garage sale
Overruled.
setup.
Overruled.
Sir, you can answer my question.
Would I have that on sale for that much?
I think
Yes.
his question to you is how much do you think you could sell it for right now, sir, if you were to sell it to somebody at a garage sale or to put it up on Facebook?
I have no idea. I haven't seen the condition of it right now. I have no idea what it looks like, and
Okay.
I can't judge on that from here. I don't know what it looks like right now.
Okay. Would you say it's fair to say that that's also your opinion of the appraisal of the house? Of the value of the house? You haven't seen it? You don't know what it's worth?
That's true.
Okay.
And they don't know what it's worth either. They're not an insurance adjuster. They're not an engineer.
Okay, thank you.
That's all speculation.
All right. There's no question pending. Were you aware of a standing order in your case? Did your attorney share that with you?
No, I did not receive one. From
Okay.
day one, I've never received a standing order to do this, don't do that, don't do this. And
Did you receive a motion? Did you receive a
office that I received a standing order was from your office or from somebody else that I was being in contempt for doing this,
Okay,
this, and
gentlemen.
this, which
You guys can't talk over each other.
I was talking.
It's hard enough when
he asked me.
it's hard enough when people are in court, but as you can see, what happens is with Zoom is that it tries to refocus on the speaker. So when you guys talk over each other, I can't hear you guys.
No, I was
So-
speaking first. He asked me a question. I was just relaying my answer. If he wants to speak over me, just say, "Excuse me, Joe," and I say, "Okay, go ahead, your turn."
Well, but you're doing it
And I
too,
agree.
Mr. Laird. You know, it's happening from both of you. So I'm just asking you both to just kind of wait for each other's until each other's done, and then ask the question. As I said, we've got some time this morning. You guys asked for more time than you needed, which is rare.
Okay.
So we don't have to race through this. We can get this completed with everybody just kind of taking a deep breath and letting the other person talk. So
All right.
I'm gonna let you re-ask the question, Mr. Knight, because once you guys started both talking over each other, I forgot where we're at. So
All right. My apologies, Judge.
no worries.
You had answered my question if you were aware of the standing order, and you had received my motion for contempt regarding shutting off the DirecTV and the Comcast, correct?
Yeah, later on, the contempt. Yeah, I never
Alright.
received anything for a stand order.
Did you receive the standing order that's associated with the motion for contempt?
No.
Did you see that the standing order?
I never received the stand order. I had to go on the internet and pick it up myself, download
Okay.
it.
All right.
That's the only reason I got a stand order, is because I was in contempt of something I didn't know anything about.
All right. After knowing what was in the standing order and having read the contempt order, did you reestablish any of the accounts that you had previously been paying for?
That would be Comcast and DirecTV.
That's
No, I
correct.
did not, because I had no funds to keep paying for that,
Okay.
which would be not a utility, but a luxury.
Where do you live, sir?
I live in Indiana,
Can you give me the address, please?
47 North Hawthorne Lane, Indianapolis, Indiana.
And who's the owner of that property?
Bloom Girl Properties.
Is there anyone in the room with you right now?
No.
Okay.
I was just stretching. Is that okay?
I don't know.
Mr. Laird, did you say Bloom Girl? Can you spell that for me? Because I didn't quite understand you. Is it like Bloom, Bloom? Or
Correct.
blue, like the color blue?
No, Bloom, you were right the first time, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do you know who the owner of Bloom Girl Properties is?
Yes,
Can you tell me who that owner is?
Janie
Okay. What's Janie's last name?
Wilcox,
What's your relationship with Janie Wilcott?
friends.
Okay. You live together?
I have my room. I pay rent to her, $650 a month.
Okay. Who else lives with you?
She has her flat. There's 2 flats here. She has her flat and I have mine.
What's a flat?
A room.
Okay. How many rooms are in the house?
3 bedrooms, a living room, a dining room, kitchen, and a basement.
Okay. Do you share the common areas?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a romantic relationship with Miss Wilcott?
Objection relevance.
Yes, if
Overall-
it has, yes, I'll answer that. Yes, if it has anything to do with a divorce, which last time I checked, Florida was a no-fault state. I don't know what making financial decisions has to do with my romantic relationships with this woman.
So your answer is yes?
I just said yes. The first one, that was my
Okay.
opening statement. I said yes.
Thank you. Do you have a contract with Miss Wilcott regarding your rent?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Did you submit that as part of your evidence?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What would happen if you didn't pay the $650 rent?
They would probably give me a few days and pay it. If not, I'd have to ask to leave.
Who's they?
Janie would ask me to leave if I didn't pay the rent.
All right. Your check was used to pay, as you testified earlier, the rent for the land lot in Naples. And what was the amount of that rent?
Where?
What was the amount of the rent that you paid in Naples?
When I left, it was $9.98.
Okay. And today your rent is $650 a month?
Correct.
Okay. You earlier testified that you have medical and debt bills of $50 for your prescription, correct?
That's one prescription, correct?
Okay. $30 to NCH that you make monthly, correct?
Mm-hmm.
$30 to Indiana IU Health,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Right.
And $30 to Wakefield, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And another 30 to Harris and Harris,
Okay.
and 164 to One Main Financial
Okay.
for a loan
What's that? What was that loan for?
for a lawyer.
Okay. How much did you receive for that loan?
First time was $2,500,
Okay.
$3,500.
So you've received $6,000 in loans for the lawyer at this time?
Correct.
Okay. And how much have you paid your lawyer in total?
I paid him $2,500.
But you got $6,000 for the lawyer, correct?
Yes, I know, and I still owe him another $2,000.
Okay. So you paid him $6,500 and you still owe him $2,000, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You said that you also pay for gas and electric. Is the gas or the electric also in your, is gas or electric in your name?
No.
All right. Is gas and electric included in your rent or no?
No. We split it.
How do you divide up the gas and electric?
We split it.
50-50?
Correct.
What other bills do you split?
Groceries,
How do you split those bills?
50/50.
Okay. If you've heard about how Miss Laird has gotten help from government and from church, etc. And you're familiar with what Miss Laird gets in Social Security, what do you believe or what do you know will happen without that help that Miss Laird gets? What will happen regarding your marital home in Naples, Florida?
What I believe will happen to
Yeah.
that home?
Yeah.
I'm gonna object just for cause of speculation. I'm not sure what the
I don't
foundation
understand.
question
I
is.
don't understand the question. What is gonna?
Okay.
What
All
they
right.
need to
I'll allow
do-
it. I think you might want to rephrase it though, Mr. Knight,
Sure.
because I think I know where you're heading with it, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask the question for you. I may if you don't end up asking it.
Thank you.
We've already heard that Ms. Laird has $800 in Social Security income. Do you disagree with that, or do you agree with that?
I have no idea what they make, but if that's what they say, that's what it is.
Okay. And you testified that the rent, the last you were aware of it, was $998 a month, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so $800 doesn't pay for $998 of obligation, correct?
Last time I did the math, you're right.
All right. So what is your understanding of what happens if the rent on the land lot is not paid?
Oh, it'll go on what they call a lien.
Okay, and then what happens?
The place will be sold, and then whatever is sold for, they will take the lien, pay for the debt, and the house will be gone.
Okay.
That's how that works.
To the best of your knowledge, does Miss Laird have any other place to live?
Well, she has 2 sons, and what I got from Landmark recently was a note that someone was living there. Don't know who, don't know if they're still there, but she has 2 sons, one in Melbourne and maybe one in Naples. I don't know.
Okay. You earlier heard about Miss Laird discussed a $10,000 debt to a friend. Do you dispute that that's a debt that you both accrued to the friend?
I agree.
Okay. How are you asking that debt be divided?
That would be through the sale of the house.
Okay. Let's say this house gets sold and the house isn't worth anything after the condition of the house is appraised, if in fact that's the case. How would you ask that the debt be divided at that time?
Very minimal payments from me, if anything.
Okay. But as a whole, are you asking for like 50-50, 70-30?
And there's no house to fall back on, right?
Yeah, presuming if that ends up being the case, that there's no value in the house.
Well, if's a big word, and do we know this for a fact to be written in stone that I have no receipts, nothing from this contractor or whoever she had look at the house. I could send someone there too and say the house is okay, it just needs $1,000 or $2,000 worth of work.
Yeah,
I
but-
can have one of my friends.
For the record, folks, I'm going to chime in right here because I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole. For the record, the law in the state of Florida is that there is a presumption that debts are divided 50-50 unless there's some reason to divide them otherwise. And thus far, y'all haven't given me anything that would qualify under the statute to do anything other than a 50-50 division. So unless you guys are going to shock me with something earth-shattering, I think we need to move on from this.
Okay.
Good.
All righty?
All right.
Because that's how I'm looking at it, and I don't think I've gotten anything from either side of the equation to suggest an unequal distribution because of intentional dissipation of a marital asset or some unreasonable spending on behalf of one or the other of the parties. I'm not finding that right now. I realize that you guys both have your issues with what the other one has done since separation, but it doesn't equate to me finding a real high level of some type of bad behavior on behalf of either one of you or both of you that would cause me to divide what looks like a pretty significant debt in a greater amount than 50-50. So unless you guys are going to start asking those kinds of questions, then I would suggest we move on from this.
Very good.
Thank you.
Let's go. Let's
All right, Mr. Laird, earlier you heard Jean's testimony that she was eligible for a program where if her house was found to be dilapidated, that she would be eligible to receive some kind of benefit that would provide her housing in another location because the house is in a floodplain or something. If that were to be the case and she were awarded by a government agency some sort of property, would you concede that that would not be marital property because it was essentially awarded after the divorce?
No, I don't want it.
Okay. Sir, you're requesting all these tools. Do you know where the tools were on December 21st when you left?
Yes, most of them were inside the shed.
Okay. And where else? Where were the others?
There might have been some in the carport. And that's
Okay.
about all I know. That's where they were when I left. And some
Right.
maybe in the house where I was doing work.
Okay. Did you purchase these?
Yes, some I had purchased and some were given to me.
Okay. All during the marriage?
Correct.
Okay. Earlier you testified with that if there was a $200 alimony payment would be, it would hurt, but it would be doable. Is that fair to say?
Reconsidering that with my bills, that would hurt a lot. So no, that
Okay.
wouldn't work.
Okay. So for your
I
debts,
don't even drive a car, so I have no transportation really.
how do you get around?
I use my friend's vehicle.
Okay. I'm going to go back to your bills for a second. We went through, there's $650 in rent that you pay. What is the average gas bill split at?
150.
Pardon me?
150.
Is that your share or is that the total gas bill?
That's the total gas bill.
Okay. What is the average electricity bill split at?
I'm sorry. Did I
I'm
say
sorry, what is the average
the gas bill was $250, and then you split that? I'm sorry, that was my mistake.
That's
and then
okay.
the electric bill is $90.
90, and that's split in half?
Correct.
What is the grocery bill usually?
That would be $450.
450?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be my half.
Okay. 450 would be your half?
Correct. I have a diet I have to go by per my doctor.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Those are all my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Bazaz, do you have any other questions for Mr. Laird?
No questions.
All right.
I would like to call Miss Laird.
Well, I want to have a discussion with Ms. Laird first about these tools. I want to find out what happened to them. And I also want to know from Mr. Laird, you just testified, Mr. Laird, that you think the entertainment center is worth $300. Are you really intending to come down here, grab a U-Haul and get that entertainment center? Because it sounds to me like she's indicating that you said she could have it. And it seems like it would cost you a lot more money than if you went out and bought one to get this entertainment center back up to Indiana.
That's fine, Your Honor. That Jean could have it.
The TV I get, the tools I get, all the other mementos I get, you can get them in the back of a vehicle and drive the vehicle from Florida to Indiana. An entertainment center requires a lot more in the way of transportation. So, I mean, from my perspective, it sounds to me like the entertainment center is really something that we shouldn't fight over. I can understand you wanting to have the TV, which I think she said you can have. The bigger issue now for the court is to find out what happened with all of those tools and what we do about it. So, Mr. Knight, you want a chance to speak with her first before the court asks that question? Because I do
Thank
think
you
we
very
need an
much.
answer on it. What's
Yeah.
that?
Yes, we do. I'll talk to her for 1 minute, 30 seconds
Thank you.
maybe.
Thank you.
Okay, I figured out what's going on.
Okay. So, Ms. Laird, do you want to tell us what tools are left and what happened to the other ones, please?
Let's start with, if it's all right, Judge, can I direct the questions?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Initially, what was the last, when Mr. Laird was still at the Naples house, what was the last thing you saw him do with tools?
He was working on putting in some windows. Some of the windows had cracked, so whatever tools he needed for that. There's also a major leak that he had been working on. He didn't mention that was over the bedroom window.
Where were the tools last that you saw before he left?
They were all over the house. They were all over the house. They were all in the carport. There were some in the toolbox out by the garbage.
Okay.
And the whole carport was filled. And I have pictures of his tools that he and my son had talked about at that time that he didn't want or my son could take.
What did he do with some of the tools?
The tools were everywhere.
Okay. Where did he take any of the tools back with him to Indianapolis?
No, he was going to get on the motorcycle and drive to Indianapolis in the middle of December.
Okay.
After he had a heart attack.
So what tools, if any, are at your house right now?
I don't know what tools are there. I don't use them.
Okay.
They're there. I need to get them cleaned up. The community is on my back about cleaning up the property, and half of these things I can't even pick up.
Okay.
If he writes a list of what they are, I will ask my son to help me find them,
Okay.
and he can have them.
But to the best of your knowledge, were any of the tools disposed of while you were?
There was a lot of stuff that was thrown away.
Who threw them away?
Joe did,
Okay, how do you know that?
because I saw Joe put things out at the curb.
Okay. Do you have any kind of inventory of the tools that are at your house at this time right now?
No,
Okay.
not the way he kept them.
Is there any tool that you would like to keep after this divorce?
No,
Okay. So every tool that is available to you, you are happy to tender over.
unless it's my son's, because my son is not living with me. My son is the one that's been doing the repairs on the house for me, because I can't pay somebody to repair. I can only have been able to pay for the material.
Okay. So if the tools were purchased or acquired by Mr. Laird and they're in your house, you're happy to turn them over, correct?
C'est la vie.
Okay. Thank you.
Ma'am, do you have an iPhone?
I do. It was a gift.
Can you take pictures of every room of the house to show where the tools are located so that the court could see, and so could your soon-to-be former husband see what tools are on the property?
I have already submitted the pictures of all of that.
But you could do it, right?
Well, they're not where he left them a year ago. I couldn't live like that.
Okay. But wherever the tools are, could you take pictures of the tools?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't feel comfortable that I have enough information on these tools. So I am probably going to give us a little bit more hearing time so that we can see what tools are remaining and see what the husband wants, and also discuss this issue a little further, because I feel like you've been in the house for the last year, ma'am, without your husband being present. He's been gone, and this tool issue is causing what I think is going to be a fairly significant dispute. How much of a dispute it is monetarily, it may not be that much monetarily, and everybody may agree that it's a non-issue, but I just don't feel comfortable resolving it today because of the fact that he says the tools were there and you say they weren't. And it may be that if you just take some pictures and he sees the pictures, he'll say, oh, those are all the tools that I want. But you've moved them around, or someone's moved them around, and I feel like we might need to have a little more information on them. Is there anything else that you guys think we need more information on to finish this trial other than just the tool issue?
Can I say something?
No, you can't.
Okay.
I think Mr.
That's fine.
Bazaz still wanted to, I guess, call as a witness. I would also call Gene to on it as a rebuttal witness to Mr. Laird.
Okay. Well, I'll take some additional testimony, and then I'm going to have you guys take a look at your calendars so I can at least find, I think we'll only need maybe an hour to talk about the tool issue. And honestly, between now and then, I would encourage you, Ms. Laird, to share the pictures with Mr. Laird to see if you guys can resolve the tool issue between the two of yourselves, because honestly, it's a minor issue, but it can become a hot button because there are things that people care about when they leave a residence and they're no longer there. And it sounds to me like at least some of those tools are things that Mr. Laird cares about. And if they're gone, it causes him some anxiety about why are they gone? Did you just throw them out? And I think there could be a conversation about that could resolve this, what is appearing to be a minor issue, but can become a major issue. So, all right. So Mr. Bazaz, did you have, you had some questions you wanted to ask for Ms. Laird, or were you going to cover the tool issue?
No, not the tool issue. I just had a few other questions based on my client's testimony.
Okay.
Very
You
brief.
can proceed. Yes.
Ma'am, the furniture that your husband listed that was in the home, is that all that furniture still there?
No, that furniture was falling apart, and Joe knows that. He had reinforced the bottom of the couch with wood. We bought it at a thrift stop, a thrift store that I bought in 2009.
Hey, can you just tell us which
falling
one of those
apart.
furniture aren't there?
Excuse me?
Can you
There
just
is
tell
no
us?
there is no living room furniture.
Okay, what about?
It completely fell apart. It was used when we bought it, and it's over 15 years old.
What about the bedroom furniture? Is that still there?
The bedroom furniture, the Tempur-Pedic bed, that was $3,000. That is still there.
So other than the living room furniture, is there anything else that's not there?
There's only one dresser in the living room, and there's one dresser in the second bedroom and a bed that someone gave us in the second bedroom and the wall unit someone gave us. They were not paid for. The only thing that was paid for was the dining room table I purchased with my money from my inheritance and the living room furniture. The dining room table I sold because I needed money.
Okay, and when did you sell that?
When he told me in March that I didn't agree to a simplified divorce, he would stop sending me money. And he stopped.
So March of 2020?
Yes.
Do you know how much he sold? Do you know how much you sold that for?
$175.
Is there anything else that you sold from the marital home, other than the Harley Davidson, other than the dining room table that you just mentioned? Is there anything else that you sold?
No, and there were not that many TVs. We lost 2 TVs in Hurricane Irma. And when he left, there was only 3 TVs in that house.
Now, you mentioned there was some testimony about your son. How many sons do you have?
I have 2.
And where do they live?
My youngest son lives in the east coast of Florida in Melbourne.
Okay, what does he do for a living?
He is a sous chef.
Objection relevance.
I was about to ask how that relevant.
Well, I think it goes to, okay, well, all right. Let me ask more questions and see if it's relevant. I'll strike that. I'll strike that question. No, that's fine. Which is the son that was doing repairs in your home?
My oldest son.
Okay, and where does he live?
He lives with his friend Nate and sometimes stays with me
In what city?
in Naples.
Okay, did he ever stay with you? Oh, you said he said sometimes with you?
Yes.
Oh,
He
how
sometimes
long?
stays with me. If I need him, it depends on what my health is that day. Or if I can't drive myself. I've been 10 days of IV infusions. I can't drive myself. So he will take me. So when I need him physically, he will stay with me. Or I have a problem with the house, I can pay for the materials, but I can't pay for someone to repair them.
Why is this relevant, Mr. Bazaz?
Well, we're asking about, I think it's important for alimony reasons as to how often her son is living with her. I need to know if he's paying any of the bills. We've talked about.
He has 3 children.
Is he giving you any money, Ms. Laird, or assisting you in any way financially when he stays with you?
No.
Okay. You deposited 2 checks in the joint bank account back in May, one of $7,000 and one of $2,000. Where did you receive that money from?
That money was supposed to be coming from a fundraiser that I had, and it was not, and the checks were bad. I did not know that, and they were gone. They were gone. Those checks were sent back. Suncoast was straightened out, and it all went away.
Okay. And they were from a charitable fund, you said?
It was supposed to be a GoFundMe account, but it ended up coming from a business that I didn't even know.
Okay. All right. I have no other questions.
All right, thank you. All right, and Mr. Knight, did you say you also had questions?
I do have her questions as a rebuttal witness. May I proceed?
Okay. You have a couple questions for Mr. Laird?
No, I just have questions for my client as a rebuttal.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Gene, earlier Mr. Laird says that you took the house off the market. Was the house ever on the market?
It was on the market. It was never shown. He called her. She came over that day. He told me he called her. I didn't know she was coming. And we had been planning to leave, move in like January, get the house on the market and move. She came, she put the sign on the window, and he agreed to pay the land lot fee until the house was sold. That was the written agreement, the promissory note. Then he got to Indiana and she said, well, their thoughts changed, and he said he wasn't paying it anymore. And the agreement was until the house was sold, not agreed that it had to be on the market for him to pay. He would pay until the house was sold.
Okay. What was the condition of the house back on December 21st of 2019?
There was stuff everywhere. He had taken everything off of the walls. It was all over the floor. I couldn't pick up any of this stuff. You couldn't walk through the house. I have pictures of the condition he left it in.
Okay.
And I said, how am I going to sell a house that looks like this? It's not even presentable. And she even told him, this place is going to have to be cleaned up before you can sell it.
Was there leaking at the time?
Yes.
Okay. Was there black mold at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
The water closet where the water heater is, and Joe knows this, the whole wall he went to lean on it and went right through the wall because the walls are so rotted. That's the back wall to my bedroom. He did not mention that, and he knew of that damage. And he knew of the damage over the bedroom windows, where that's all rotted. The window ledges in the tri-corner of the kitchen are all rotted from water leaking in there over the years. He replaced all new window ledges in there, and they've re-rotted because the water has continued.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further, Judge.
Okay. All right. Just trying to figure out when I could give you guys a little bit of time to talk about this tool issue if we
Judge.
need to. I think I have enough information on everything else.
Judge, if we're really
yes.
closing the proofs on these other issues, I would like to offer my closing statement right now. We don't have a court reporter here. I've been
Okay.
carefully documenting exactly what people's expenses and incomes are. I'd like the opportunity to summarize that for you so that your notes will be hopefully comparable with mine. And I would even ask you to make a decision as to other matters, especially the ongoing alimony today.
I'm going to have to think about it. I can tell you right now, I'm going to take it under advisement and carefully review all of the documents that have been submitted into evidence, particularly with respect to their finances. And I will do a very lengthy written opinion.
Very good. May I be allowed to provide a closing statement regarding those issues?
Sure.
Okay. As we've heard today, specifically, I'm going to, regarding alimony, that's the only real issue that is germane in front of you today. The assets these two parties have, the testimony of the person who's seen them last, my client, is that they are of de minimis value, including the house is destroyed. She's even got the opportunity to get another house because it is in such a dilapidated condition. The real issue here is, what are Miss Laird's needs? Her needs are excessive. She's talked about that she cannot pay the rent that she has currently, that she would need additional, that she's going to have to move. Her needs are a big question mark. She said that $500 would be a massive change. She said that $400 would be a massive change, even $300. But the real issue that we're focusing on here today is, what are Mr. Laird's expenses? He was very clear with us. Gas, half of gas, which I presume only happens in the wintertime in Indiana, is $125. $90 half for electricity is $45. And then his share of the groceries, $450 for one person, that seems about right, is hey, that's his share of the groceries. Then his additional expense is $650 rent with someone who he's presumably in a romantic relationship with. I will concede if that's his rent, that's his rent. We are right now up to $1,270 in fixed expenses. In addition to that, Mr. Laird testified that he has $50 for his prescriptions, $30 for NCH, $30 for IU Health, $30 for Wakefield, and $30, I can't read my handwriting, but that is a grand total of $170 in fixed expenses. At this point, we're up to $1,440 a month in expenses. There's an additional $164 in expenses that are associated with loans in paying his attorney. I'm not sure if we want to calculate that. Mr. Laird also testified that the total amount that comes into his account is $1,883 every month. His expenses that he's testified to are at $1,440. This leaves an excess amount of money of $443. At the very minimum, Judge, I would be asking that this be the amount that you would award in alimony on a permanent basis. I hope and I pray that Mr. Laird will have a wonderful reason to come back and ask for a modification of alimony, because my client has received some kind of aid, has aged into Social Security where she's receiving a higher amount of money. But in the meantime, we have two people who are living hand to mouth. But the evidence is shown, and the proofs tendered, is that in fact, Mr. Laird does have excess funds, which could be directed. And here's how you know specifically. $800, sorry. $800 of rent was paid by Mr. Laird. No, $998 of rent was paid by Mr. Laird when he was living in Naples. Now Mr. Laird's paying $650. That's a difference of $250. Rent's gone up. He still maintains those same obligations. We haven't even talked about utility expenses in Florida. We haven't even talked about anything like that. His expenses, without a doubt, without a question, have gone down since he is separated. And for that reason, he absolutely owes alimony and has the ability to pay. His expenses have gone down. If your notes line up with my notes, he has a minimum of $443 in excess that should be awarded to my client as permanent alimony.
Can I say?
No, you cannot.
All right, Mr. Pizzazz?
Yes, Judge. Okay, so as far as the finances and everyone's assets and expenses, both parties filed financial affidavits. Both parties put in all of their month-to-month expenses. We agreed on all of these exhibits to come in. So I would ask the court to look at that. Whether or not both clients testified specifically to every specific expense that they have, they probably didn't. But again, we all agreed to these exhibits. They're all there in writing. So yes, when you look at both of their finances, they're both in the negative. The fact that the husband was getting help from his friend, that he's in a relationship, it was great. But he testified that that help is no longer there. That only went on for a few months. And in those few months, he was paying his wife, as far as the expenses. Also, his timeline of payments that he made to his wife are part of the exhibits. They're part of the husband's exhibit. So I would ask the court to look at that as well. It has specifically every dollar that he paid, which is why we didn't painfully go through it during his testimony, because it's all there. It's all stipulated to as an exhibit. So I would ask the court to go through that as well. But what the husband can't get past, what we can't get past right now, is that the agreement was, the plan was to sell the home while it had value. And both parties would be walking away with equity. At the time that he was leaving in December, even to the wife's testimony, they got the realtor. It was valued at $88,000 or $89,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. That was the agreement from both parties. The intention was to show the house and to sell the house. But from husband's testimony, that didn't happen. That got stopped by someone, and the only ones that would have had that decision-making authority was either Joseph or Gene. And Joseph didn't make that decision. It was his part of the agreement was, yeah, I'll continue to help pay, but we got to put the house on the market. We can't survive. And now that didn't happen. And now here we are over a year later, and presumably the house isn't worth anything, but we don't know that. We just have one letter that's not even dated by someone who says, oh, it's going to cost more than $80,000. But I mean, I would ask the court really not to hold as much weight on that as to the testimony of the two parties. The husband was doing all the repairs. He was making the repairs. Both parties agreed on that. They both testified that he did repairs before he left. Now, the only conflict in the evidence is that the husband says, yeah, when I left, it was fixed. There was no leaks. There was no mold. I would check under the house. He was the one that did the repairs. Now, wife is saying, oh, no, all those things were there. I would argue that his testimony is more credible than hers, based on the fact that there's been a number of conflicts in her own testimony. Specifically, the tools were gone, they were all put out, but now later in the trial, she says, oh, no, they are there. Some of them are in there, but they're all over the place. So there's been conflict in the wife's own testimony at trial. So I would argue that his testimony is more credible than hers in regards to what the home looked like. And I think what also corroborates that is the fact that a realtor did come in and price the house at $88,000 or $89,000. I think that goes more to his testimony, that when he left, that was the value of the home, that the home was in good condition, that the home was able to be sold, and that was the agreement of the two parties. The fact that did not get done is solely on the wife. That's not his fault. And I know that we all feel bad. But, you know, our emotion doesn't mean alimony gets paid. They're both living, as the other attorney said, they're all living hand to mouth. Both of them are. They both don't make enough. They both have the need for alimony. They both do, but neither of them have the ability to pay. And just the mere fact that the wife gets less disability than the husband is not a reason to order him to give alimony. On paper and in his testimony, he doesn't have extra money to pay. He was able to in the beginning when he was getting help from his friend, but now he's not. And so Judge, we would still ask for home to be sold, equity to be split 50-50, expenses to be split 50-50. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, as I indicated before, I am going to take this under advisement. I want to do an order on trying to find a, there we go. Trying to find a civil order that I could pull up on SmartBench and draft while I've got you guys here, because I would like to do it before concluding this. Let's see here. All right. So, Mrs. Laird, how long do you think it would take for you to take pictures of the tools so that they could be provided to Mr. Laird?
I can do that this week.
This week? Okay. Why don't I say within 7 days?
Okay.
I'm going to call this an order regarding tools. I don't know how else to put it. This, so it says matter came. It's January 26th. Do we need to have this go between the attorneys, or can the parties exchange these pictures themselves? What's your preference?
We better have the attorneys do it.
Yes?
I
Okay.
would suggest.
Okay, number one is going to say the plaintiff shall take pictures of all of the tools and provide them to her attorney within 7 days. Attorney for the plaintiff shall provide these pictures to the attorney for the defendant within 48 hours, within 2 days, let's just say. Trying to give you guys a little bit of time because I realize, you know, you're both are practicing and you may have other matters going on, but I want to kind of get this shored up quickly if we can.
Please.
Upon receipt of the pictures, the defendant shall advise his attorney what items he wants and what items he believes are missing. Those items, that list shall be provided to the plaintiff's attorney by the defendant's attorney. And then this matter, the issue of the tool shall be rescheduled. I do have some time available in the next few weeks. So if you guys are able to actually get this done quickly, I probably will have a lot more time if we get it done sooner rather than later. I know that going into the month of February and particularly into March, I'm buried. So I know this won't take much time, but I'd rather try to, especially because this is fresh in my mind right now, I'd rather resolve it sooner rather than later. Because I'd like to have a good idea of how I'm going to rule on the tools before I finish the whole final judgment.
Okay. When do you want us back, Judge?
Well, let me look at my schedule real quick. I mean, I'm basically giving her a week to get the pictures done and then a couple of days for Mr. Pizzazz to go over them with his client. So probably within the next 2 weeks, I would say.
Okay.
See what I've got on my calendar. Oh, actually, you know what? I got to sign this order first before I go back into my calendar. Come on. And this order is going to come to you guys electronically. Sign. All right. It is coming at you. That's not right. Gotta make sure I click the right button. I almost sent it to you and would have said it was a notice of hearing. It just says order. All right, let's see what I've got in the next couple of weeks. It's looking to me like probably the soonest I'm going to be able to get you guys back is going to be sometime on February the 19th. God, I wish I could get you guys back in before that.
Me too.
I have time later this week, but that would mean you guys have to scramble. I mean, I'm telling you, I just looked at my calendar. It's like a disaster.
I'm on trial on Friday, so it's not going to work.
I might be able to, if you guys could get everything done this week, I might be able to find you some time next week. Okay. Looks like next week I have some available time, but literally starting February the 8th, other than February the 19th, all the way, like literally through almost the end of March, I'm buried, which is really weird with COVID, but I'm supposedly have a jury trial docket the week of February the 22nd on backup and the week of March 1st. And it's starting to look like our numbers are going down, which means there's a possibility that I might start doing jury trials again, which is the reason why I was able to squeeze you guys in this week is because us criminal judges are no longer doing criminal jury trials. That's why I've been able to actually, relieve some of the family docket. But if we start opening up those criminal jury trials again, it's going to be a lot.
Are you available February 5th?
What's that?
February 5th? You said next week, possibly?
I think I am February 5th. Let me just get a hold of my judicial assistant and make sure.
I just threw a random date because I figured Fridays were easier.
February
Usually
3rd.
lighter.
Do I have anything on February the 5th? I'm going to need to take a little more testimony in the Laird case. I don't see anything on the calendar, but I always make sure with you that I didn't actually double book something there. Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna schedule them for probably another hour on that day. Thanks. Bye. Okay, February the 5th currently is available. So you guys, do you have any preference as to time? It looks like I had that as a special set day, which is an available day, thank goodness.
10 a.m. to noon would be ideal for me.
Mr. Pizzazz, does that work for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Mr. Miss Laird, does that work for you? Yes? You're
Yes.
muted, Mr. Laird.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that would be fine. Thank you.
Okay. So 10 to 12. It says in my order that you guys are going to reschedule it with my office, but if you could, I'll just have one of you send out a notice of hearing and I'll let Jen know that it is scheduled. And Ms. Laird, that time works for you too, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm very hopeful that maybe you guys can all work together to get the tool issue resolved without me even having to hear it. If not, just let me know and I'll finalize the judgment. I just would like everybody to kind of work together to see what we've got out there before I make a final decision on it. And just like I did today, I'm more than happy to hear the dispute on the 5th if I need to. But I'm hoping that maybe with a little bit of cooperation and coordination, maybe you guys can figure at least this issue out, okay?
Okay.
And thank you guys for being prepared today and giving the court all the information you did. I do like to take my time to make sure that my judgments are thoughtful. And that's why, especially in a long-term marriage and in a case that has lots of information like this one, I like to take it under advisement and give you a full written final judgment, which explains my reasoning. And I usually will have that done within a week, and I would expect no less in this case too, other than the fact that we have the looming tool issue. But I have a pretty good idea about the other issues, and I just want to make sure I look at the evidence you guys have given me before I make a final ruling.
Very good.
Okay?
Judge.
Nothing else between you guys? No?
thank-
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye. Tommy, you good?
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about the problems you're having with the internet. I understand that it's been a problem all along, huh?
It has been.
I know. I have it from my end too, and sometimes I just don't know what to do. I've gone back into my office, and actually I found out that my connection to my office is worse. So I come into the courtroom, and some courtrooms are better than others.
Right.
Then I tried using my iPad, but if I use my iPad, I have to go on the public Wi-Fi, and the public Wi-Fi is terrible. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the secret sauce is here.
I don't know, but they need to figure it out.
Maybe getting the world vaccinated and opening up the courthouse.
There you go.
You know what's very cute is every time I look at you, you have like a heart over your head,
Yes.
right? So I'm like talking to you, and there's just like a little dangling heart. It's very
They're all over
cute.
the office, but that one just pops up right there.
It does. It pops up right there. Anyway, thank you for your help. Are you with me anymore this week?
Yes, I'm with you tomorrow.
All right. Awesome. I'll see you then.
Okay, see you then.
All right. Bye.